Okay guys, we are recording. So this little exercise is going to be taking us through the first step of the challenge group process, which is setting up the goal tracker. The goal tracker is a tool to clearly identify and outline what your goals are for any given week. So the first thing that you need to do is go to joesgoals.com. That's the web page that we're looking at here, and you're going to sign up for a free account. So email, first name, and password. Write this password down so that you can remember where it is. Now I've already got an account set up, so I'm going to just sign in. And let's see here, password doesn't match. Let's do that again. Okay, cool. So I've got a bunch of goals in here, and I'm going to go ahead and delete these goals real quick, and we're going to start over. So delete, delete, and we're going to go through as if we are setting this up for a new challenger, which you are. Okay, so the first thing we're going to focus on is we're going to focus on activity, and I'm just going to outline a typical client. I'm going to say somebody that has not had the best habits and behaviors around activity, and that hasn't had the best habits and behaviors around sleep or hydration. And so we're just going to start out with incremental success versus ambitious failure. And so as you're setting up your goal tracker, you need to decide what incremental success is. So I'm going to imagine that I haven't worked out in roughly, let's say, 6 months consistently. So for somebody like that, it would be realistic to say, okay, I'm going to work out 2 times a week for 30 to 45 minutes. That's a good start. So whether that is at boot camp or whether that's doing an in-home program like Insanity or P90X or Slim in 6, we've got to figure out what is realistic for us, because we can't be overly ambitious or we'll choke and we'll fail. And this process is about taking little steps, being successful with those steps, and then doing a little bit more. So for this exercise, I'm going to choose the Slim in 6 program. So I'm going to say my activity is Slim in 6. Okay, and that is that's a DVD program that's designed to be used 6 days a week. But since I'm not in a habit of moving my body 6 days a week, and that would be overly ambitious for me, I'm just going to start for my first 2 weeks. I'm going to go ahead and for this instance, I'm going to say 30 minutes 3 times a week. Okay, so Slim in 6. So I'm going to do Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So I'm going to uncheck all the other boxes. So I'm going to do Slim in 6, and I'm going to type in 30 minutes. That's my goal. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm going to be doing Slim in 6 for 30 minutes. This could be Zumba for you, this could be P90X, and it could be that you're in the habit already of moving your body 4 days a week before you started this thing. So 4 days a week is realistic, and you may even go to 5 days a week. But what we've got to decide is what's achievable versus what's going to be overly ambitious for you and that would cause you more stress and not achieve it. Because remember, this is not about intensity. This journey is about consistency. So next we're going to take a look at nutrition, and I'll ask questions of my clients. So what does your nutrition look like on a daily basis? How many meals are you having? And when I say meals, I consider snacks meals. And so depending on their answer, I'll say, okay, it sounds like you need a little bit of practice around feeding your body every 3 hours. And so I will start them out with their breakfast according to the plan, and then getting their AM snack according to the plan, which I recommend Shakeology for that AM snack. And the reason I recommend that is because it's about that time of day, around 10 to 10:30, when a lot of people will reach for sugar or caffeine to help them get through the beginning of their workday. But if they've got Shakeology on hand, it's going to help support them and give them energy, give them focus, so they don't have to go hit Starbucks or the coffee room in order to get through the day. So with that as a caveat, I also want you to recognize that some people really struggle getting breakfast in. And if that's the case, if you struggle getting breakfast in, I want you to have your Shakeology for breakfast, and then have another small snack according to your nutrition plan, which we'll review in a different video. So you'll look for the appropriate video there for that nutrition plan. But the idea is that we want to get Shakeology in our body every day, and we want to be able to follow our nutrition plan according to the guidelines. Now, our nutrition plan is going to be set up specifically for us, for our needs, based on our current body composition and our current activity level and our goals. So again, we'll get to that in a little bit. But if you try and follow your nutrition plan, excuse me, if you try and follow your nutrition plan 100% right out of the gates, not having good practices, you may make it a week or maybe 10 days or maybe 14 days at most, and then you're gone. And I've seen this 100 times where if we expend too much energy too fast, we're not going to make it for the long term. So what I'd like you to consider when you're setting up your meals as far as what you're going to be held accountable for in this journey for the first couple of weeks is if you're already in the habit of feeding yourself 5 meals a day, great. Now what your practice is going to be measuring those according to your plan. And if you're not in the habit of eating those meals, every 3 hours, 5 meals a day, then it would be wise to just focus on the first 2 meals of the day for a couple of weeks and then reassess. How did I do getting in my breakfast and getting in my Shakeology? And if you did well after a 2-week review, then you would add that goal in of the next meal or two. So maybe now you're going to add in your lunch according to the plan as a goal to be held accountable for. Now remember, this is what we're being held accountable for. So you may have a question, okay, so what about after breakfast and my snack, what I do? You do what you've always done. You adhere to that same behavior that you've had before the challenge group. Because if we try and change your behaviors too quickly, you're going to snap. So if we change them slowly, then we begin to stretch you and you begin to become capable of more. But if we go too fast, you're going to snap, you're not going to make it, and you're going to revert back to those old habits and behaviors. So this is where it's really important to be very patient with yourself. So this goal, I'm going to pretend that this is somebody that is used to skipping breakfast and skipping lunch and having all of their calories for dinner, which is very, very common. So for this person, I'm going to outline breakfast according to the plan, and that's going to be every day. I'm just going to get breakfast according to my plan. Next goal is going to be AM snack / Shakeology. Okay, and again, that's going to be an everyday goal. Now, this is all I'm going to focus on. If this is my profile and I'm used to missing meals or skipping meals. Now, you have to do a gut check with yourself and decide, okay, do I want to hold myself accountable for more meals? And I'm just kind of repeating myself before, but again, this is about consistency, not intensity. So I want you to be aware of that. Okay, so next, that's where I'm going to hold myself right now, as I'm just starting this new habit and behavior process. I'm starting my health journey. So the next goal is going to be hydration, water. Okay, how many ounces of water are you getting currently? Now, I was talking to a client some time ago, and she drinks tons and tons of coffee, but when I asked her about water, she basically got 8 ounces of water in a day, and that is ridiculously low, very, very bad for the body. We need to start with half our body weight in ounces. So I'm going to open up a spreadsheet real quick, half our body weight in ounces. So I'm just going to say it's a 200-pound person. So we take that, we divide that by 2. So we've got 200 divided by 2. That's 100 ounces. Okay, so 100 ounces. 1 gallon is 128 ounces. So we're basically looking at, for this individual, we're doing 3/4 of a gallon, or 100 ounces. Now, that may be overly ambitious for some people. And again, we've got to take a look at incremental success versus ambitious failure. This particular person that I'm imagining, they're good about water. They may not drink 100 ounces, but they probably get in 60 to 80 ounces a day. So we're going to bump that up just a little bit, and that should be okay. My recommendation here is that you carry a container that you can measure that you've consumed everything that you need by the end of the day. Water, the importance of water cannot be overestimated. It is critical, is that every biological process that we go through requires water. If you look at the research, one of the quickest ways to get energy is to get hydrated. And if we underhydrate, if we dehydrate the body, just by a little bit, we lose our muscle strength. We lose our focus. It's really, really important to get the hydration going here. But let's say that this person is used to drinking Gatorades and coffee and sodas and all that kind of stuff. It would be overly ambitious to try and get them to do 100 ounces. So I would cut that down. I'd say, okay, let's try and get half a gallon. So let's get 64 ounces, get half a gallon a day, and then check in again on that habit and behavior in 2 weeks. And again, that's the team call that we do on a weekly basis. That team call helps as a opportunity to reflect on how you've been doing on the goals that you set up and decide, is it time for me to set some new goals? This is a live, living process. This is not something that you set a goal once and you forget it. You are constantly checking in with your goals, constantly error correcting, taking a look at where you've been and where you need to go next. But for this particular client profile, we're going to leave that as 100 ounces. We're going to save that goal. Next goal is going to be sleep. So there's a great phrase that says, muscles are torn in the gym, they are fed in the kitchen, and they are built during sleep. And that's very, very true. Sleep is our recovery process. And if we're not getting enough sleep, we're not able to recover, and we're literally walking around in a fog. There's an awesome book that was written called The Way We're Working Isn't Working, and there's a chapter entitled, Sleep is More Important Than Food. And it really is when you take a look at it. If you look at how people are tortured in prisons, they are deprived from sleep. Sleep deprivation drives people nuts. So recognize that you may have a little bit of that going on. And when you start to sleep more, your focus improves, your body recovers, and you feel better, and you have the energy that you need for this life transformation journey. One of the first things that I ask when somebody's starting to struggle, when let's say they've been doing well, is how are you sleeping? When are you going to bed? And more often than not, I find out that they have been sacrificing their sleep. So while we're on this subject, I want you to try and begin a ritual that 30 minutes before bedtime, whatever that bedtime is for you, that you unplug from all media. You unplug from Facebook, from TV, from all of it, so that your brain waves actually have the opportunity to flip and change frequencies so that you'll get deeper and better sleep. So depending on where you are, let's say that right now you're sleeping 5 hours a night on average. If that's the case, then I want you to go for 6. If you're sleeping 7 hours on average, I want you to consider going for 8. Our ideal is between 7 and 8. So wherever you are, let's take one step towards getting towards that 8, but we don't have to get all the way there right now. Just make a little improvement. So for this particular person, I'm pretending that I get 5 hours on average, so I'm going to go for 6 hours per night. Now I need to back into that. What time do I have to be awake? Okay, I've got to be awake by 5:30 every morning. So I back into that. That means that I've got to be in bed by 11:30 every night. So 11:30 bedtime. Okay, so I know what my target is. Now, I would also encourage you to set an alarm on your phone to help remind you, like 11 o'clock. Have a bedtime alarm go off. So say, hey, it's time to get ready for bed, time to be thinking about bed. You need to be in bed in 30 minutes. And also another point to make here is that sleep studies show that the sleep that we get before midnight is twice as effective as the sleep we get after midnight. So the time between, let's say, 11 and 12 is equal to 2 hours compared to the time between 12 and 1 a.m. Something to notice, something to pay attention to. All right, so you're going to figure out what is realistic for your sleep to get towards restful sleep, know what time you need to wake up, and know what time you are going to be getting to bed. We're going to save that goal. Okay, so we're going to add another goal. This goal is about getting our minds right. This is about personal development. The way that we engage in the world, our bodies, our minds, all of that is the residual output of all the experiences we've gone through up until this point. We have a certain philosophy, a certain psychology that has been created from all those experiences. And a lot of teachers will call that our internal thermostat set point. And if we continue to immerse ourselves in negative people, we will find ourselves being negative. If we end up if our entertainment is soap operas and salacious headlines from tabloid media, you can guarantee that our lives are not going to be very empowered, because we're we're rinsing ourselves, we're bathing ourselves in a lot of negativity and a lot of drama. On the reverse side, if you want to elevate that thermostat, if you want to elevate your internal conversations, if you want to change the way that you talk to yourself about your abilities, then it's very important to immerse yourself or bathe in personal development material, things that inspire you, empower you, that give you new ideas. And so the single biggest life-transforming component of this process, and you can talk to the many people that have gone through this journey with me, is the daily personal development. Making a commitment to read 10 pages a day of an inspiring, empowering book, or listen to 15 to 20 minutes worth of audio every day. That begins to elevate your philosophy, elevate your internal conversations. You'll be amazed at what happens when you do it, and when you don't do it, it's like after you have learned to shower and you stop showering, you stink. And that's the same concept with personal development. We've got to do it every day if we want to be at our best. And a lot of people are not in this habit. I highly encourage you to take this very seriously. And in order to take it very seriously, I've given all of my clients access to a personal development library that I've purchased. And if you haven't got access to it yet, see me. I'll get you the link. You can download the zip files both in PDF and MP3 formats. We're talking about books like Strength for Life. We're talking about How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Eat That Frog, books by Brian Tracy, by Tony Robbins. We're talking about books on nutrition. We're talking about books on relationship and communication. There's one called The First 30 Days on how to get your mind right to achieve any new habit or behavior. There's one called The Pursuit of Perfection, and it's about how perfection is counterproductive and how we get in our own way with these unrealistic expectations of ourselves. So my encouragement to you is to download the PDFs and MP3s and make a habit every day of listening to or reading one of those. And I've gone through periods where I'll choose the same one every day, so I really let it sink in. Mastery is an awesome one to start with. Do You is another one by Russell Simmons. Just some of the best thinkers and the best inspirational writers under the sun. I've got a collection of their works to help us stay focused and to work on that internal process, because this really is an inside-out journey. If you don't change the internal landscape, the exterior is not going to change. So that's all I'll say on that. So we've got personal development. Typo. And we're going to say 15 minutes. So 15 to 20 minutes. And the way that I do mine, I wake up, I make my cup of coffee, and I set my timer. I actually do 17 minutes, like clockwork. It's my rhythm. I set my timer for 17 minutes, and I read and I enjoy my cup of coffee. All right, so we've got our activity, we've got our meals, we've got our water, we've got our sleep, we've got our personal development. Now we're going to create a logbook, and this logbook is basically going to be a place for me to capture my notes. So I'm going to call this Josh's Notes. And what I can do here is, we'll take a look. I'm going to click on today's date. So let's say that I had breakfast, but I didn't have it according to the plan. I just had, I had a cup of oatmeal and a banana. And so basically I had a super carb-heavy breakfast. I didn't have any protein. I didn't have much fats. So I'd write that down. So did get breakfast according to the plan. All right, so I'll save that. Okay, and so I don't get to put a check mark on breakfast that day, but guess what? I got my Shakeology in later that day. I got my water, I got my sleep, and I got my personal development. So not a bad day, and it's a rest day up here, so I didn't have to do my workout. I'm not scheduled to do that. Now, let's say that I missed Monday. Well, I can put a check mark in that box and still stay on track, because it's about making sure that we burn that number of calories and we move our bodies on a regular basis, because our nutrition plan is going to be synced up with our activity, and that's very important to stay engaged with the right amount of activity so that everything lines up. Now, to remove the check marks, you're just going to click the check marks. Now we've got another logbook, and this logbook is called BMC, and this is where we're going to be grading ourselves. BMC stands for Behavior Management Contract, and we're going to save that goal. So as I outline my goals, basically what we're looking at here is we're going to focus on the goals that I've created as a 2-week review. So BMC, basically my behavior management contract, this is an agreement with myself. I'm going to make a declaration that I'm going to hit my goals by 75% over the next 2 weeks. Now, depending on where you are with these habits and behaviors, I'll start some people out at 60%. If they can hit these goals by 60%, their lives are going to change. Now, if you're already in a good habit around a lot of these behaviors, you may want to go up as much as 85 or 90. I don't want anyone over 90% because that is shooting for perfection, and perfection is counterproductive. Again, see the notes on the pursuit of perfect if you want to know more about that whole concept. But when we strive for perfection and we don't hit it, we start playing mind games with ourselves, and those mind games are very counterproductive. So, 75% goal, 2-week grade. And let me get a typo here. Okay, 2-week grade. So what this means is that every 2 weeks, I'm making a declaration to hit my goals by 75%. And every week we get together as a team on the phone and we review our goals. We say, okay, this week, you're going to take all of your check marks, all the check marks that you actually got, divide them by the number of possible check marks or the possible boxes, and that's going to give you your percentage score. So say that you have, let me go to a spreadsheet here. Let's say we've got, new spreadsheet, there we go. All right, so let's say we've got 30 boxes total, and we get 22 out of those 30 boxes. So we'll take 22 divided by 30. I'm at 73%. Okay, so if that's the case, 73%, I'm shooting for 75, so at the end of 1 week, if that's the case, I've got to pick my game up a little bit for the next week to take myself up so that I can average out over 2 weeks at 75%. Now, we're going to attach a consequence and a reward to this 2-week review as well. So, I'm going to make a declaration. I want you all to do this. I'm going to reward myself with X. I want you to decide what it is. So, for a lot of people, it's been, I'm going to go get a massage or a pedicure or a manicure. I'm going to go buy a new pair of shoes, or I'm going to buy something to celebrate my achievement. So for me, I'm going to say new shoes because I'm in need of them right now. So new shoes. On the other side of that, the consequence. If you don't get the job done, let's say you come in at 74.9%, then you're going to owe yourself a consequence in order for you to stay in integrity with this process. So if you didn't get your habits and behaviors done, you've got the stick waiting for you on the other side of that. And for a lot of people, that has been 4 hours of cleaning out the garage, 4 hours of yard work. It's been 4 hours of community service, or 4 hours deep cleaning the house, or detailing the car. But I want it to be a half-day project that you're going to have to commit to by not following through with what you said you would follow through. You'll recognize that this is a huge process about integrity, about keeping your word. So if you don't make it happen, you've got to keep your word with this consequence. And no one can make you do this. We can only remind you of what you said you're up to, and every 2 weeks it's an opportunity for you, or actually every week it's an opportunity for you to be transparent, share with the team what you're going through, where you are percentage-wise, and what you're doing great at and what you're struggling with most. Now, there's an entire archive of team calls. We just had an amazing call last Sunday. It was about an hour in length because we had a lot of participation and a lot of life transformation and issues to talk about. And the Sunday call is really, really important. Be there when you can. Share your story. And if you're not able to make it, you need to listen to that call and you need to chime in with your grade for the week and what you're doing best at and what you're struggling with most. So we can talk about it on the group page instead of on the phone. On the phone is going to be best because it's live, there's more energy, and we can all give each other immediate feedback. So my consequence, if I miss it, I'm going to do 4 hours of yard work. Okay, and I am saved that goal. So this is my goal tracker for my next 2-week period. As I progress, as I learn these habits and behaviors and I get better at them, I'll start adding in other goals. Like I'm going to take my Slim in 6 once I've got, let's say I've got 2 weeks under my belt of getting it in 3 days a week for 30 minutes, then it's time for me to take it up to, let's say, 4 or 5 days a week, and then eventually to 6 days a week. Then I'll progress through that program and I'll move from 30 minutes to 45 minutes. I'll move from 45 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes as the program progresses. Okay, so hopefully that all makes sense. And one thing that I recommend is that you take a look at this and you do the previous day. So it's Tuesday morning. What I would do is I would go through and I would review Monday, because Monday is now complete, especially if you're tracking all of your meals. It's easier to review the previous day than it is to keep checking all day and saying, okay, did I do this today or did I not do it? So just set some time aside each morning to go through and check off your goals for the previous day. So I'm just going to pause real quick and make sure I've covered all the bases that I want to on this. Take a look at this video for the download on the personal development. I think I'll put that there, and if not, see me and I'll make sure you get that link. I'm not sure if I'm going to make this video public or just keep it private for the challenge group. Alright, I think that is it, and we will talk with you guys soon. Take care and goodbye.